Hello everyone, this is Joseph from English with Joseph. Today I want to tell you about two English festivals. Well, they're not really festivals, but perhaps we could call them celebrations. The first one took place a few evenings ago on the 31st of October. That festival was called Halloween. Halloween. Halloween is an evening when young children like to dress up as ghosts and as demons, and they go to our neighbours' houses and they knock on the door and they say trick or treat. The neighbours then give them sweets and they leave. The traditional food for this festival or celebration is pumpkin. Pumpkin, I'm not quite sure what it is. It is something, I think it is a fruit or a vegetable. I'm not sure of the classification. Halloween has its origins in the old times of the UK. Before Christianity came, the celebration of Halloween was called Beltane. It came from a race of people known as the Druids. Now, these people were Gaelic speaking and they came from Scotland and the northern part of Europe. And the Druids, they were a class of religious people. The Druids didn't write anything down. Everything that they passed on was done orally by the voice. So we have no records of what Beltane was actually for, or really what they did on that evening. However, we do know that it has something to do with the changing seasons. As you know, we are now into autumn and winter is fast approaching. When Christianity came, the evening became known as All Hallows Eve. Hallow is an old English word which isn't really used anymore, which means holy. Holy, sacred. And it's All Hallows Eve because Halloween, or the 31st of October, is the day before a really big celebration within the Catholic Church. And in those days, everyone was Catholic because it was before the Reformation. All Hallows Eve preceded a day within the Catholic Church, All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. One is on November 1st and one is on November 2nd. So All Hallows Eve was the evening before these festivals began. In. Hallow means holy, and as you know, the word that we use for this festival is Halloween. So where does in come from? Well, that isn't exactly English. That comes from an old Scottish word, in, which means eyes. For those of you who have had lessons with me in the past on I Talk I, you will know that I'm Scottish. And it's very common for Scottish people to say to one another something like, oh, my een are sore, my eyes are sore. So, een is not an unusual word in Scotland, but it is an unusual word in England. So this is where we get the whole word Halloween, which means holy eyes. So the next question, of course, is why do people dress up as ghosts on that night? Why do they dress up as evil spirits? Well, there's a couple of reasons for this. It is just a harmless piece of fun, but Christianity and the churches are very against it because they do not think that it is something good. Well, they dress up as ghosts and demons on that night because the belief in the Catholic Church in the past, in medieval times for example, was that on that evening the veil between the two worlds, the world of the living and the world of the dead, was lifted or became more transparent. And on that night, the idea was that the dead people came back and could walk amongst the living people until midnight. So the idea began that if we dressed as ghosts and demons, then they wouldn't harm us because they would think we were also ghosts or demons. So when the dead people were walking the streets, they would see someone dressed as a ghost and say, "Oh, there's another ghost. He's not human, so I'm not going to touch him." Of course, it's all very superstitious, and it sounds a bit crazy. But these days, it's simply a day or a night, perhaps to have some fun. And that's what the children do. They go and collect sweets from the neighbours. It's a bit puzzling though, because sometimes the way that they dress is not very nice. Sometimes they put some colours to make it look like blood. And even companies encourage their staff on that day to dress up and to make it look like they're going to a party or that they are ghosts or demons. That's not very nice because some people look very scary and very frightening because they wear a lot of different colours on their faces. But this is usually done for charity and to raise money for a good cause, so perhaps it's not so bad after all, but I'm a bit uncomfortable with it. It's nice to have some fun, but I don't like to see people dressing up in such a bad way. Well, the second festival we have, or maybe I should call it a celebration, is on the 5th of November. On the 5th of November, we remember a man called Guy Fawkes. Now, Guy Fawkes was very famous in the old days, and on the 5th of November, we always get fireworks, and we light them and they make nice lights in the sky and they're very noisy. I'm always a bit confused by November the 5th because I don't quite know what we are celebrating. There is a rhyme that we learned at school and it says, "Remember, remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason and plot. I see no reason why gunpowder treason should ever be forgot." Now, Guy Fawkes was a man who lived many, many years ago, hundreds of years ago. He tried to blow up the British Parliament building. Have you heard of Big Ben? Big Ben is the clock on the side of our Parliament building in London. The man, his name was Guy Fawkes, he went underneath the building and he put explosives in there and he was going to blow the place up. But at the last moment they found him and they arrested him. So it's an act of terrorism. Why are we celebrating this? Well, if he had succeeded, the night sky would have been illuminated with lights and loud noises, just as our fireworks celebrate. But I am still a bit confused why we celebrate this man. Was he not a terrorist of his day? I don't know. These days we are told terrorism is bad and all these things. But who was Guy Fawkes and what was his mission? Well, Guy Fawkes lived in a time when the Catholic Church in the UK was illegal. Because the Catholic Church was illegal, anyone who was practicing the Catholic Church, they would be killed. Guy Fawkes was a religious man. He was, I think, a cleric of the Catholic Church. He was a priest or he was working for the church, something like this. And he tried to destroy our Parliament building because our Parliament building had made his faith illegal. So that's the history of November the 5th and Guy Fawkes. Now it's interesting his name, Guy Fawkes. Guy is a very common English name, but in America, Guy, they sometimes say, "Oh, did you see that guy over there?" as another word for a man, but Guy is also a name. His second name, his surname, Fawkes, sounds a bit like fox, the animal, F-O-X, but actually it's not. If you listen carefully, the animal is called a fox, but his name is Fawkes. His name is spelled F-A-W-K-E-S, Guy Fawkes. So it's not Fox, it's Fawkes. Yes. So that gives you the history of two very famous celebrations which are taking place in the UK right now. And in between these two, we also have the Indian festival of Diwali, and that's the festival of lights. So they also are putting up many fireworks. So every evening I hear explosions, every evening it's like a war zone. I hear lights, and I think, my goodness, maybe that's what it's like in a country which has a lot of war. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.